Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fed Up with me, Fed Up Gaz. Joining me today is the singer-songwriter Brian McKenzie from Rhode Island in the
How's it
US.
going?
Oh man, it's not going too bad until I was attacked by a mosquito before we went live, but yeah, could be better. How is it on your side today?
Good, great. Yeah, everything's all right.
Oh, it's great stuff, man. And yeah, thanks for joining us. So, you know, jumping straight into Technicolor Moments. Um, the feel of the song, it's got that very, it's got quite an upbeat vibe. It's got a high tempo. I was listening to a lot of your early music going right back to 2003,
Oh, wow.
and compared to those early releases, which has like very much introspective, very reflective tone to them, this still has that, but quite an up tempo feel. So I just wondered what the decision process was behind in choosing that kind of feel.
Well, I kind of come from harder stuff and come from rock. I mean, that was kind of what I
Yeah,
really started doing from the beginning with music. And I just these days I've been listening to a ton of like The Cure and like earlier stuff
yeah.
that just that's kind of been in the mood I've been in, and I just started kind of writing these riffs, and I don't know. I have a lot of, like you said, more introspective, darker, maybe kind of
Mm.
stuff as well. And I just needed like a good rock tune to come out.
It's funny you mention it, Cure, because I can also hear like the melodic side of Rush is in
Oh,
there
really?
as well. Yeah, I thought I could hear
Nice.
that
I like
the
that.
mellower edge, and I thought this really comes through a bit of that, prog in the acoustic as well, which I
Right.
thought was quite cool.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Nice.
hey, you're very welcome. Um, so when I was reading about this song, and it says it's all about looking back on life and our past memories, and how we all can be guilty of looking through those rose-tinted lenses. You tend to remember
Hmm.
the good things. Say, for example, in relationships, even
Right.
it's like, oh man, would this been different, and you forget about all the bad side that happened.
Exactly.
So I thought it was that was very interesting, especially concerning, I think, what the world has been through the last couple of years.
Sure.
Um, so I thought it's got all that soul, that very deep emotion involved in the music and the lyrics as well. So before we get into chatting about the video as well,
Yeah.
was this inspired generally by life experience, things you've gone through yourself, and perhaps friends and family?
Yeah. I think we all kind of deal with our own things that we tend to repeat in life over and over
Mm,
again. If maybe it's not the best thing for you, or maybe it's not working, or whatever. And but we tend to have patterns that we might need to escape from, basically. And then maybe, like you said, if you look back on things, and the whole Technicolor idea is, just Technicolor in general was just so vibrant and so strong, and then that wasn't really real life kind of a thing, so I think, yeah, like, when you look back at your own stuff, sometimes it's kind of the same aspect, where you, like you said, rose tinted glasses, or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely on all parts of life, relationships, you name it.
mm. I've definitely, and sometimes perhaps this could be, you may have covered this in past music. I don't know, but perhaps one for the future could be the other problem you can sometimes have is where you're in that kind of dual sense of purgatory where you remember both the good and the bad,
Right,
and
of
you're
course.
thinking, man, if I could change this, this might be better. If they can
Right,
self-reflect, this would be better in that way. And
exactly.
sometimes that is equally as difficult, because then you're looking, oh well, someone will say to you, but you're remembering the good, you're remembering the good memories just that, and you're like, no, I remember everything else what's happened as well.
Right.
And then the
You
friend
gotta
be
like
like,
kind of
yeah,
weigh it.
yeah. So friends like,
Like,
well,
bad
so
lyrics, but I get that.
yeah, so why do you want to go back to something like
Right,
it's
exactly.
like, I don't know, that's something a work in progress. But
Right.
you know um forgive me here. I have
Hmm.
limited knowledge on your background in metal. I
Sure.
did do a little bit of research on Kilgore. If I've got
Yep.
the correct band, they sounded a bit of a mix of early Seven Dust with Disturbed, if that is correct. If
Yeah,
not,
it
I've
was.
got the wrong band.
No, you do.
Sorry.
We were originally signed in like '95, so I always it was before a little before Disturbed and that kind of thing. But right, yes, it was along that same time period for the
Mm.
most part. So, but yeah, that's when I was like 19 when we get signed, and that's where it all
Wow.
kind of began for me. And I wasn't even old enough to get into the half of the clubs I was touring in, and I had to sit in
Yeah.
a corner after I was playing. I remember one club was like, you have to sit near the popcorn machine when you're all done. I was like, the popcorn machine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was but yeah, I mean that's kind of where it all started really, and I've just stuck with it. It's not to that level because the music industry
Yeah.
changed and whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's just something I always do because I love doing it and it's a part of me and I have to. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if that passion and that need to express yourself as well through songwriting, and okay, this is a different approach to Kilgore. It's very very deep, very meaningful and self-reflective. But is that something even in the harder side of music? Is that something you've always wanted to do?
yeah, I need to get it out somehow, and I've
Mm.
been writing music for most of my life, and if I don't do that, I become even crazier than I am. So I have to do
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
and I have to get it out, and I love recording and I love putting music out, and yeah, I just have to. It's just a necessity for my life in order to try to keep some sort of sanity, really.
yeah. It's healthy though, isn't it? Because you can even vent any negative emotions out there as well, or whatever.
Right.
It's a good way of dealing with it, I think, for any kind of writing and music as well.
Exactly.
And as the same, music is very much a mood thing, as you said. You've
Hmm.
recently been listening to The Cure, etc. So it's nice that you've gone from the harder edge to the kind of more acoustic softer side.
Oh,
And
cool.
but
Thank you.
if you ever want to go in a harder songs, I'm sure you can. You've got that option. And I remember talking to a guy long before Fed Up, when the show had a different name, really way back in the day when it wasn't much of a show, to be honest, back then. And he was in a New York hardcore band,
Hmm.
possibly with Scarface, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and he's called CK Jones, and now he's very much kind of similar to yourself. There's a lot of singing, songwriting, acoustic. It's a different other music, so
Oh, nice.
it's interesting that a lot of people in the kind of harder side of music also do a lot of, if you like, a solo career separately,
Hmm.
playing a lot of softer music, and I think it's given that balance. It's given that dual
Right.
edge where I'm not always have to be, a high energy, angry, upbeat,
Right.
shouting, running around.
Right. We're
You
big
can have on the
softies
other
too.
side. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's the same with myself. When people look at the background, like, on one thing, oh, this guy's martial arts, loves, combat sports and everything. Yes, I
Yep.
do. But hey, I can easily watch comedies and some things what would probably ruin my brutal reputation if I said them. But everything is a mood thing, and I think
Right.
having that versatility that I could hear and what I've read about you is only a good thing, and it's increases your reach as well, draws in a wide audience. Um, Moving to the video for Technicolor Moments,
Yes.
uh, man, now this caught my attention for a number of reasons, and I'm putting a disclaimer out there now. I'm trying my best to behave myself for the moment before we get to talking about film, because myself and Brian have been going back and forth about horror and some films, etc. In emails, and this is a habit of mine. If I get nerding on film, that's it. There goes the interview. But I did creative writing and I took screenwriting as well when I was at college. So this
Oh, cool.
caught my attention. Sorry, the way it was storyboarded, the animation, literally like how when we're writing out an idea for a film and we've got the storyboards there and you have the little notes and it's like each scene is playing out. And I like the start where you're sat at a typewriter doing that. You've got the boards, you've got the captions at the side, like as if it's a graphic novel too.
Right. Right.
And it really fit the flow of the song. It went with the words, the lyrics. It really is vibrant, and it really does bring it to life. So I know you worked with some other people on this. I'm just curious, how long did that take for it all to come together? Because it must have taken some time.
It did. Well, first of all, that whole thing, I work also in the film industry as well. So one good thing about being in the film industry is that I get to meet tons of super talented people. And I work with this one in particular. His name is Jason Mayo, and he is a storyboard artist. And since the song mentioned writing storyboards and writing a screenplay and whatnot, I talked with him, and he loved the idea. And at first, it was actually going to be just kind of like in a comic book way, where it'd just be like
Yeah,
frames and go. But he took it so much further and made, the animation, made it move, took actual video of me doing particular things, and then just drew it all out. And it took him a good he was basically locked in his basement for like 3 weeks. So he just slide a dish under the door or something to eat, and then yeah, it took him. I mean, it actually didn't take that long if you think of it, but he would just kind of
yeah,
was so dedicated. It really took like about 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, but he just did it every day, like all day long, and
yeah.
it came out amazing. I can't thank him enough. He just actually drove by my house a little while ago and dropped off a belated gift for me, which is a bust of Vincent Price.
Oh
Which is
man.
pretty cool.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Oh wow. Oh,
Yeah.
seriously, all right. Behave, guys. I'm talking
I
to
know.
myself. Just behave. Let's do business for now.
Yeah. But he's such a great guy, and the video came out so fantastic. I'm so thrilled with it. So yeah, but that's all him. That's all the credits goes to Jason for sure.
Yeah, it's really, and I think you know what else is cool about it as well. Um, it's got the black and white, which kind of emphasizes. I don't know if this is what you went for, but it emphasizes the past in a sense, like a
Right.
past memory, then
Mm-hmm.
mixed with the color, with the Technicolor, and almost
Yep.
is quite a nice parallel for film. If we look at how film started black and white, and even when color arrived, very, very rare color films, and then gradually transitioned to using color.
Sure.
And I think that catches with what the song is about. Um, so was that intentional, that feel, or you know,
It was a few different things.
mm,
It was yes, it was supposed to be that it was black and white, and then just wanted to add some of the Technicolor moments to make it be just pop, to show what was newer or where I want to be or that kind of thing. But it was also based a little bit. The idea that we kind of threw around was a Twilight Zone episode
yeah,
called 16 millimeter, and
ooh,
yeah, and it was something where my God, I'm flaking with the main actress's name, but she was an old actress that wanted to be in the past so badly and just couldn't stand how her friends were aging and whatnot, and she's watching this film with her in it, and then eventually disappears into the film, and that's kind of like it plays on that a little bit as well, so it has those two different themes really going through at the same time.
yeah, yeah. It's very interesting. Oh god, there's a story. I'm doing the same. I'm always like this. I go live, then I can't remember, and then as soon as we're done, I'm like, oh yeah, I can remember the
Oh yeah,
band or whatever.
right.
But there was a novel I read once, and I think it was about this like this spinster, this old lady looking back on her life, kind of similar to the episode of the Twilight Zone you just described. But yeah, things like that I find very appealing, and so I'm just curious as well. What's the reaction been like from both the press and fans? Have they appreciated that with the video, and also the very deep and meaningful aspects within the lyrics?
Yeah, it's been the video definitely when excuse me, when that was released and that came out first, it's so visually impressive that was what
Mm,
most of the feedback was from. But it did have a bunch of people that actually did listen to just the song, and then I did end up getting a bunch of texts and whatnot from a whole bunch of people saying how much they do love the lyrics and what it meant to them and that kind of thing. And I haven't had that happen in a little while, so that was pretty cool. But press wise, I would say mostly it's been about the video, which well deserved for sure. So
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear that it's inspired some people as well. And even the cover for Technicolor Moments, where you've got the circles in a different
Yes.
colors, and then
That's
in the
my.
center, yeah, let's go on, bro.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut
That's
you
all
off.
right. It's all right.
My
You people want to hear you, not me. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
no, no, no. It's that was my buddy Pete Cardozo from there's a company he has called Ghost Town Studio, and he does all sorts of great graphic design, and he did that for me, and I love it. I love the eye. It's like it's an eye basically looking through a
Yeah.
camera with everything coming into focus, you know. So it worked
Interesting.
pretty well. Yeah. So that was kind of like, you can't really tell that unless I say it directly, but that's kind of what it, you know, the rings are that are, you know, it would end up doing this, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So could that be a sense for then to signify if those rings are coming into focus that someone perhaps is then starting to get their life into focus. They're looking at where they are now, learning the lessons from the past, bringing everything into a center, and the eye in the middle that kind of could refer someone who's reflected on the past, as you said, the use of black and white there, and then with the color to say, no, here's a you have to make a vibrant new start, you know, be positive, bring everything into a center line to go forward.
That all sounds awesome.
Yeah, it just got it managed the imagination.
I'm gonna have to write that down and put it on my bio now.
Yeah, that's a new.
No,
I'll bill you.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to see it. I mean, yeah, for sure. That wasn't the way I was seeing it, but I love it. Yeah, basically, it was more of the eye looking out, you know, and that circle was actually the, you know, the camera lens. So it was a little more literal than that, but I love what you had to say. I mean, that's the new way. That's what it's about now. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. It's my imagination. I think I say it all the time on every show. I've got such a visual imagination, and I'm sure you can relate working in the film industry. I see everything happen in my head like a film. You know, jokes, humor. When I listen to music, read something, it starts to play like an image. And the downside of that is sometimes it's very difficult to switch my mind off. And like when I was at college doing creative writing, and I only said this to yesterday's guest, I could be lying awake, you know, it could be 3 or 4 a.m. and I'm let down, I'm thinking, you know, just wait till you're in the library in the morning to write this. I'll write it down, I'll write it then. Right. And then I'm thinking, no, I'll go away. And then I'm thinking, no, if I don't even write a line, or no, that's it, that idea is going to go. And then an hour will pass, you know, and then it's the same thing. And I'm like, oh man. And then I'll get up and I'll write, and then I'll find out it's like 7 a.m. It's just, but I'm sure it's a common staple in film.
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, even with songwriting, if I write something that I'm really happy with, I'll do that all night long. I'll keep waking up with the melody in my head, or come up with a new line, and I have to get up and I have to write it down. You know, it could be like 2:30 or something like you said, and but I have to do it because you're not going to sleep if you don't.
Exactly, it keeps nagging you, or it goes. There was one guest from another band recently, and he said, I think he said even if he's in the subway or something, sometimes he'll get out his phone and he'll hum the melody or do something like that, so he can then play it on the guitar later. He said it's crazy the things you do, but you have to do it.
You have to do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
See that, or drink a lot.
Yeah. That helps as well. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's that argument for some of the best songs, etc., have been written under alternative substances, I guess. But then there's other, then there's the whole other argument as well. I always think, well, yeah, I suppose so, but in some regards. But I think, well, if they get into later in their life and they still want to sing and play, that's when it can catch up with them. So, look, I'm not going to say anyone, do what you want to do, but just keep a balance. Hang on, I'm getting off topic here.
No.
Try to get that like this. I get that hyper and excited about things. So. This is obviously the new single. Is there a full album which is going to follow up, which the single will be a part of?
Actually, no. I am in the middle of a new EP that is going to come out toward probably, I would say, mid-winter, but that is actually darker, a little more intense, a little darker, a little more personal, and I've been writing that for a while. So I have 4 songs finished. I have 3 more to do in the studio, but kind of what I would have been really basically trying to do is I record, the EPs or the albums, and then lately I do like a little rock single in between, and then I do another EP, and then I do a little rock single. And so now this next EP will be not really at all like the single will be, but I know that, I do have a few more in the chamber that after this I'll do another rock single. So
Hey.
kind of just trying to blend it all so I can get everything out of me that I want to get out.
Yeah, do that mix. But I think that must be the most interesting aspect when you're writing music, that you can go from these various styles, like I'm in this mood, so I'm gonna, write about this, or I'm gonna draw
Right.
my inspiration from here. So it never gets boring for you, and always keeps it fresh as well. Um,
Right.
and this is a question I've put to people before, those who draw from quite a wide range. Is that a good problem to have, or because everyone's answer is different on this one, or sometimes it can be quite a headache thinking, man, I want to incorporate this and I'm not quite sure how to make this flow.
It's actually, it's not the best sometimes because you can't really be categorized into one particular category. So like if somebody say, especially now with the streaming services, if we do Spotify or whatnot, and you hear Technicolor Moments, the next song could be basically a country tune that I did in 2010 or something, and then the next song might be completely different than that. So if it's all over the map, it's kind of it's weird because I do them as projects basically, and they're kind of meant to be projects, but the streaming world changes that and it kind of breaks it up where it doesn't make any sense. So I think maybe people don't perceive it that way. I'm not really sure, but to me, I feel like, oh no, like I've listened to my own station sometimes and see how it does, and I'm like, wow, this is nuts. This is all over the place.
Audio migraine.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, how do you find, which mood are you in? But if you want to listen to one particular type of thing, you can listen to this album. If you want to listen to this, you listen to that album, which is kind of how I wrote it all,
Yeah, it's I think generally speaking as well, sometimes even as a person, if you're not quite within I guess the box, and you have like a multitude of musical tastes, or you don't fit the conventions, like say within, I'm sure you know this too well as well, within metal, right? That's it, you're brutal all the time, you can only listen to different forms of metal, not like anything else. And then but for me, I'm like, well, of course I've got my favorites, but why limit yourself? There's, as we said, music is a mood thing. There's so much out there. There's so much that you can express. And for me, hey, if someone wants to play thrash metal, and then make a country album as well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's how that person feels. It's okay, it can be for a different audience, but it shows that there's more to that person. They've got that wide range, as I've been saying, of versatility. So, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion at all. Which is what storytelling should be about.
See, we need everybody else to think like you, and we'll be all set.
yeah. But believe me, I can get I'm not gonna sit here and say I've never gone through my elitist metal phase, especially when I was getting into death metal, which I still listen to, and I was like, oh no, nothing else is true. No, we have to keep it brutal. Yeah, it's a phase we all go through, I guess. And of course, I love my extreme metal, but I like lots of other music as well. So it was the founding tenet for this show as well, Brian, was to feature people like yourselves, where we could present a wide range to people, not always the same kind of music, same guests, and it hopefully keeps it interesting in people. I'm not expecting them to like every kind of music that is featured, but if at least they can respect the craft, the writing, the recording that goes into it as well. Yeah, I'm nerding now, so I'll try and get a bit back on topic. I have a habit of going off topic and
Yeah, I've got nowhere to
nerding.
be.
Yeah, as you've seen in the emails, so oh man, you've already seen it. Me getting hyper about, oh man, you like this? Oh man, yeah, punishment coming on this show. So, um, I'm just like I've mentioned the themes that are in your music. So, where would be certainly I think life and experiences of one of the key aspects that are in the music in here. That
Mhm.
and where else do you draw inspiration from? Is everything around us, nature, things you see?
It's a lot of it is kind of more personal stuff, I would say, a lot of the time. A lot is in the has been relationship stuff.
Mm,
But it's weird. Like I write melody first. I always have. So I if I want to portray a certain type of feeling, or if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I tend to just put all the music together and put the melody together first. And then sometimes I just only have vowel sounds, and I because I know what I want to hear in my head and how it works. But and then I fill the lyrics in later. So it's
yeah.
I never have the lyrics first. If I do, I've tried multiple times. It just comes out so cheesy, and it just doesn't. Yeah, it's the music just never fits what I just wrote, you know. So, but it's not that I don't put any time or effort into the lyrics. I do, but
Yeah.
it's not the first thing I think of. So, with the exception of some of the stuff on the EP that I do have coming out, because that stuff is actually really personal stuff. There's a song that I haven't ever even played out before, and it's about when my dad passed away, and so there's certain things that I that was specifically for that reason that I wrote it. So that on this EP, I would say, was the only exception to what I just said. So I don't sound like a complete liar.
No, 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 no. It's interesting because some people. Again, the answer to that question varies as well. Some people have the music first, others can write the lyrics first. And in the
Right.
main, it seems to be more the music first. But there has been the
Hmm.
odd person I've spoken to said, they can write the lyrics, and those people that seem to be able to write something in an afternoon as well. I mean, that's man, that'd be so fascinating because sometimes any writers, when you get those difficult moments where you get writer's block, and a lot of people will think, can sometimes think, oh well, you just can't write anything. So it's not always that you can write, you just don't like anything that you see in front of
Right.
you.
Exactly.
I had a real bad experience where I wrote 90,000 words, believe it or not, and I got to the end of it and I hated all of it,
Oh
absolutely
wow.
hated all of it, and just went shh.
Ooh.
And maybe that was hasty. I should have maybe waited and
I mean, there
for a
must have
few
been
months.
one sentence in there you might want to have kept, but
Yeah, yeah, a lesson there. Though, um, but yeah. So, is the I mean, obviously you use your music to talk about in important subjects and experiences to your heart,
Mhm.
relationships, losing your dad. I can relate. I lost my own dad to COVID.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
well, thanks, man. Sorry as well.
Thank
Um, is this something that you've always felt important to? Um, I guess so people can find that common ground to relate to you and your music by openly talking about things that you feel importantly about and experiences through your music. And if so, does that then add that integrity and real authenticity to the words and the sound?
I think so. I mean, I think sometimes your own personal experience, which you think is your own personal experience, is also the experience of so many other people that
Mm,
even if you're not trying to do it for everyone else, the fact that other people might relate to it and might have gone through something, or dealt with something a certain way, the way you did, or whatnot, I think it kind of hits hits well with them. But a lot of the times it's more like it's almost like a journal to me sometimes. Like rather than journal, sometimes I'll write a tune and about it. So it's
mm,
tends to be, there are some exceptions with what I've done that it isn't just all about my stuff and all about me by any means, but the songs that are deep, that are, yeah, I think I do it for just to get it out first, and then when people can relate, I think that's fantastic. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely is. And it helps as well, especially when we've had those shared experiences and you hear like another person has gone through it. And sometimes it's like the same, you're talking to family or close friends, you don't always listen or take on board their advice, but when you hear it from a singer or a stranger you
hmm
could bump into, yeah, they can say exactly the same thing, say that your uncle or auntie has told you, but some reason we tend to listen
listen to
more.
the
I don't know,
stranger
yeah,
instead.
I don't know how that is. It's like, and then your mom be like, I told you. It's like, yeah. Perhaps make a film about that one day.
Yeah, exactly. That
Yeah,
is very true, though. We all
yeah,
do that.
yeah, yeah. They're for real. So with being in the film side, which I will be
Mhm.
here and come to that later, but I do want to ask at the moment, does your film work influence your songwriting and also the way you play music?
Well, so what I do in the film is in the film industry is I actually am what do you call a set dresser. So I work on all the
Ooh,
sets themselves. So I don't write film or
right,
direct it or anything like that. It is all just hanging lights and putting down carpet and bringing a plane in or whatever we have to do for the set for whatever we're working on. But so there's not really a lot of influence that goes into the
right.
music from that at all. I mean, if anything, my music, probably the biggest influence would be that I'm so glad my 12-hour day is over and I want to play my guitar. So,
I bet, yeah,
so, but yeah, I don't really take anything home from that, to be honest with
yeah,
you. I just I keep them very separate. Like this is my music life. This pays for my music life, so
yeah.
because the music does not pay, I'll tell you that. So, yeah.
No, it doesn't, and that's an interesting point. So with all the streaming now,
Mhm.
and we've got the rise of AI as well, as people have been concerned about possibly people's voices being ripped
Right.
off as well.
hmm
So is it even more important to kind of get out there and do live shows to put that presence and hopefully generate as well some sales from the Merc tables? I know it's a very kind of simple way of putting it, I guess.
No, it's true. I mean, that's
Mm,
why whenever you go to a show now and you're paying unbelievable amounts of money for tickets, and it's because that's the only way they can make
yeah,
any money, and
yeah,
merch for sure. So yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. If you're not out there really doing much, then the money's not going to be by any means the same as what it could be, I guess. But yeah, that's the way to go, merch and
mm,
playing for sure, but not streaming. That's for sure. That doesn't give
yeah.
you anything, but we all know that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, and it's so I always say to people, if you can get there, I know there's commitments and everything, but if at least you can get there and support one of these shows when they happen,
Right.
it really does go a long way. Not sounding cliche, it's true.
No, it's totally
So
true.
I'm curious as well, Brian. I know you're from the hard rock,
Mhm.
metal side as well. But when did you first pick up an acoustic guitar? And when you were with Kilgore, did you always plan to, become a singer-songwriter as well?
Not really, no. I mean, I started playing guitar when I was in like sixth grade, and my dad bought me my first acoustic probably around a year after that. I started on electric, and then he bought me an acoustic, which I still have. And but yeah, I ended up doing the. What was your second question? I'm sorry. So that was
Yeah,
the second part. I lost the second part.
it's all right. Yeah, it
Oh
was a
no, I know, I
loaded
got it, I got
question.
it, I got it.
Yeah,
So when
yeah,
I was in, yeah, it came back to me. When I was in Kilgore, I used to, when we were touring, even I would, we all had. I'm dating myself, but we would have our Discman, and we'd listen to CDs
yeah,
in the van. And when we weren't playing, I was always listening to like Glenn Phillips and Toll the Wet Sprocket, or even like Sarah McLachlan, like stuff that just took me away from the because I mean it was so loud every night, and I loved it, but it was just to kind of
need
give
that
your ears a
break.
rest and be in a
Yeah,
place. And when you're staring out the window, at this beautiful landscape half the time, you don't really need to be listening to Anthrax or anything. Sometimes I like to just kind of be in a zone, and I just always liked that stuff from then. So even like I said, like Total Wet Sprocket or whatnot, that was actually one of the biggest influences outside of the metal thing to kind of make me switch over. And then I kind of got into like the even like the Chris Isaac thing and the Elvis and all that stuff. So between, I don't know, I guess anybody who plays an acoustic, but I've yeah, it was something that was always kind of there on the side.
Mm. It's I think acoustic as well, it can, even when it's played right, it really can add that soul and capture that like I said, that emotion and heart from someone. Because
Mm.
again, I'm gonna show my movie nerding leanings here. But when you get westerns or even some of the blues artists, and they bring in that kind of like Wild West acoustic approach,
Oh yeah.
and I just think, man, it just always fits the story or the scene so well. It's it
Absolutely.
goes with the whole, and that music, man, that it has the same effect on me, even as it does
Hmm.
as metal does. I hear it, and I'm like, oh man, I want to hear more of that.
Right.
Who plays that kind of music?
Yeah.
There's something about it, and that was why I was asking you about if film did have an impact on you, because um, it does have the, and I've gone through and listened to all your music on Bandcamp, and I am, there is that cinematic edge with the storytelling as well. Maybe that's because, like myself, you're a passionate film buff as well, so it's
Mhm.
probably what naturally shines through. And there was a point where I was going with this, and now I've forgotten. I said it.
All right, you got one, I have one. We both one for
There
one.
was a genuine question, and now it's just gone
Sorry.
live. Yay!
No,
How
I
did it
mean,
go with Gaz?
I do see what you're saying. I mean, I definitely love certain scores to certain movies as well, and
Mm,
there is a vibe that just puts it all together, and I've always loved the vibe. Like that's what I've always been into. Whether the lyrics don't even, and as far as like even listening to anything, they can be good, but they don't have to be fantastic if the vibe like really,
same.
really sucks
Yeah.
me in. So that's just, I don't know. Music is more of a feeling thing to me more than anything else. And when the lyrics are
Yeah.
great, that just makes it, over the top. So,
Yeah. That reminds me of a quote somebody said. It's not mine, and I do use it. And it was, we get relating to extreme metal when friends will say, I can't understand the words, whatever. And it's trying to, doesn't matter, just shut up and listen if you like the music. That's
exactly.
kind of the metal side.
Right.
That's all of metal. But the thing,
Exactly.
if you're not into metal, nobody seems to get that. Like what?
Right.
And then
Because
yeah,
it's a feeling, it's a vibe,
it
it's
is.
energy.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. That's exactly, and it's the same with any music.
Right.
It just catches you, like this chemical reaction goes off in your brain, and it doesn't matter what kind of music it is. If, as you said, if it's got that vibe, it's got that feeling.
Yep.
It's like, oh man, I want to listen to this, and then it's like transporting you to wherever in your mind.
Right.
Yeah, definitely does. So, all the music that you've wrote so far, Brian.
Mm.
Are there any particular songs that are very, I think I have an idea of one of them, certainly what will be, but are there any that really hold a special place in your heart and be particularly meaningful, and ones what you can look back on and you say, yes, this song from, this album or even my 2003 release have always stayed with me, and perhaps it's maybe a song you perform regularly as well.
Yeah, I have there's a song called Holding On that's on Looking Over Yesterday. It was one of my albums, and that song is all about basically just having this need and passion to do what you do as an artist, in a world that makes it so difficult to get noticed or be heard, be seen, whatever it is, whatever the art form is, and just doing it anyway because you have to, and just trying and over and over again, and whatever it is that you will end up achieving, but just sticking to it, and just being true to yourself and just true to your art. But that's probably the main one. That one means a lot to me. Higher Than This is a song I wrote that I'm really proud of, that I play all the time. Anytime I gig, I play that. Just I don't know. I think lyrically and musically, it's one that I really happy with, and happy with the way it came out. So
Yeah. So would that be advice you would give to somebody coming into music at whatever stage in life? The same with film is, if you've got that passion, is just to stay focused and just keep at it and keep moving forward and keep working.
yeah, and I think just don't get
Excuse
discouraged.
me.
I mean, most people are not going to make it for sure, and if you don't, then you still have a gift, and you still have your artistic ability, and you should still do it anyway, because that's part of your soul and it's part of who you are. So
Mm.
that's how I see it.
No,
I don't
no,
know
no. I
if
think
Joyce to see it that way.
yeah, no, I think it's true. It's no, it's all we can do, and as
Right.
long as you enjoy it and you're happy, then you just got to keep going. Again, hope the whole reason for setting up this show and relaunching it as Fed Up is to talk to as many different genres of music as possible.
Right.
The same with indie film, and any other interests that happen to pop up along the way, because it's interesting just talking with people, finding out about
Hmm.
the whole creative process, what we have in common,
Right.
all of that good stuff. We're trying to behave so hard on the film side, but
Well, speaking of which, what's your favorite Hammer horror film?
oh man, do you know, man, oh,
I did it.
there's some.
I busted it open.
That's it, folks. So we will
It's
get back
on.
to the music in Korea. We'll go back through it all. It doesn't take much. Do you know, Brian? This has happened on every show so far, more or less.
Yeah.
And there's been quite a few people have been saying, you've got to set up like a round robin table for films where people come on from different bands and we can all have a nerdathon. I'm like, it will be very chaotic but a lot of fun. And I
Yeah.
keep getting asked about it, so. Yeah, I know, folks. I'm going to have to do that at some point. I think. Oh, but yeah, to answer your question, oh man, yeah, I tell you, I actually mentioned it in one of our emails, and it is the original Dracula with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is, I think you can relate to this with working on sets. Um, it's the way that these sets were made, all practical,
Oh,
the tone, the atmosphere. But what really stands out to me, and this is in particular of old school horror movies, is when Peter Cushing comes face to face with Christopher Lee near the end, and they get into their physical altercation. They really do fight, and they
oh yeah.
really choose each other all over.
It's crazy. I know.
Yeah. And do you feel though it brings it more alive to you? It really enhances the terror and feeling like, look, here's this guy, this aristocratic, sinister vampire. I guess I
Right.
know I sound like I'm describing probably every politician going, but anyway, I digress. But did you get that sense as well when you see those scenes? Like it really,
Oh
really
yeah.
hits home so much more.
Every time I watch that movie at that part,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my god, this is
yeah,
crazy. And I
yeah,
think that every single time, because
yeah.
it's real. It's nuts. And then actually, I found this. I had gotten this a while ago, and I meant to show you this as well. But check this out. This is
Oh,
right.
oh man.
It's a magazine, but what it really
Oh,
is it's drawn like a comic, and it's
oh
all
wow.
from the movie, like all parts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just it's so cool. It's
That
yeah,
and that film
it's
that was on
amazing.
TV. Oh man, that
Yeah.
was on TV on Sunday as well. Curse of Frankenstein. I actually
Nice.
just
Yep.
watched it. But yeah,
Awesome.
Dracula especially. Missed. Well, shout out to Mephistopheles. I like raw potatoes. They taste like libraries. Yeah. Shout out to you, man. That's all good stuff. Seen some strange things in libraries, but anyway, digress. But yeah, I really admire the way that they really do chase each other. In some, I know this
Right.
happens in some of our modern horrors, but sometimes I feel, there's that like age-old cliche where it's like the guys just walk in and somehow catches everybody. But in
Mhm.
those older films, they chase each other everywhere. And there was another I liked. And the Hammer does a lot of those films where they have like short stories put together, as Peter Cushing or somebody narrating
Oh
a
yeah.
set of those tales. And there was one, it wasn't the greatest film, and Christopher Lee was in it as well. And they were sat on this train. God, I can't remember. It
Oh,
was
you
on,
said it was on the train. Was it Orient
yeah,
Express?
yeah, something like that. And I always remember the end of it. I only saw it was on TV a few weeks ago. In the end, all of these guys get off the train. You find out they're actually dead, and that this guy
So
was
now
the group.
now nobody can see this movie because you just told
Yeah, I've just spoiled it. Sorry, folks. Yeah,
what happens at
yeah,
the end is
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Spoiler alert. I might as well continue. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All these guys find out. Yeah, it's one of my big failings, that man.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys, they all find out they're actually already dead, and Peter Cushing
Mm.
was the Grim Reaper. I think it was Dr. Rot or
Oh,
Dr. Someone's House of Terror or something,
oh
Tales,
yes.
something like
Oh
that.
my God. Yes, I can't think of I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the
Yeah,
title right now. Ah, I can't
yeah, it
think
was
of it.
something like that. But what I remember is the way they used the practical effects. You saw like the skull of the guy as the Reaper, and I always remember the scene where they're at that station. They get off the train and they're at the station at the end, and they're kind of looking into this desolate hellscape, I guess. And it really puts across as, hey, they're in the underworld now, or they're about to say travel to the underworld. And it was just only that little kind of very subtle way of doing it. Probably what I enjoyed the most out of the
Yeah,
entire
right.
film. It's
Oh,
good,
that's awesome.
but
That's cool.
there's
Yeah, I'm a
something.
big
Go on, man.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go on, man.
I was gonna say I like I mean same thing, love the horror of Dracula and Dracula Prince of Darkness and the Gorgon and
Yeah,
just you know what, Brides of Dracula is awesome. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. I
yeah,
love that
yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah. That
But
was on
that's the one with the
TV
windmill
recently.
that puts the shadow of the cross. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's, yeah, it's so cool. Yeah.
there's something about them where I think it's the atmosphere, and yes, they're very theatrical, and it's almost like watching kind of some like old school theatre play on screen, I guess.
Yeah, oh,
But there's
yeah,
just
totally.
there's something
And I,
about them that just draws you in.
right. And I love the fog and I love the
Yeah,
Technicolor and everything is just the vibe is just again the
yeah,
vibe. The vibe is
the,
just incredible.
yeah. There was one on last night, and it wasn't that great. It was The House That Dripped Blood, and
Oh
it
yeah, I've never seen that.
It wasn't that great, but the ending was really good. Essentially, one of the characters who is renting this house out to various tenants. Spoiler alert, folks! You find out what happens to the tenants who get this house, and then spoiler alert again. The end has this guy turning around to the camera and saying, "Have you guessed what was wrong with the house? This is what was happening." Um, and I thought, man, if I saw that in a theatre, after a movie, and the guy literally breaks the fourth wall and turns around to you and says that, I thought, man, that would be such a good memory to take away as
Yeah,
well.
right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to check that out.
But yeah, something. Oh man, um, getting back to the music for a short
Yes,
while.
sorry.
I'll come
Didn't
back.
mean to ask you
It's
that.
all right. It's all right, man. It happens on every show. You get me talking about, horror, sci-fi, fantasy, action movies. That's it.
Sure.
And now I've now just remembered our conversations on martial arts movies. I need to be here. So, so I know you've got a show coming up on the 14th of October at
Yes.
Union Station Brewery. So hopefully
Hmm.
people are sober enough at that one as well.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I'm the impression I'm getting. Would this be? I don't know if I'm way off. Is it an intimate venue with to emphasize the nice little close knit setting, or is it the
It's
opposite?
no, I mean it's kind of half and half. It's a really cool brewery in Rhode Island in Providence, and it's just great people working there. And I'm playing with another band called High Plains, and it's kind of like a more of a fun night. It wouldn't be like a sit there and just listen or anything. I'm sure people will be
Yeah.
being semi rowdy or whatnot, but it's more like it'll be a good fun night. I'm looking forward to just being there and being with my buddies and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the thing you enjoy the most about playing live, Brian?
I mean, I think that's it. Just kind of being around all
Yeah.
the especially locally, I'm around a lot of other great musicians and a lot of friends from way back and whatnot. But when I do tour and I'm playing in other places, I just I think just seeing people connect and just kind of really be there and be present, I think is pretty awesome. So that makes my night, much better than the screaming drunk that's not paying attention whatsoever. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be a wonderful interaction sometimes if you get around and drunk. It's like, you play my song.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't play this song at the wrong. What cut me with
Right.
you? I was supposed to see.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you always see someone like that at metal shows as well. Because it's like the
Oh
person
yeah.
who seems to have just woken up. It's like, where am I? And the walk up. That's always an amusing moment. Maybe not for the
Yeah,
people playing, but
yeah, exactly.
and do you have any other shows planned? I mean, I'm guessing one to support the forthcoming EP.
Yes, I'm actually trying to book right now for that whole thing, and I'm gonna trying to make. I'm actually gonna be in Austin and a few other places
Oh,
to promote that. So, but I got to get it finished first. So I'm just trying to
yeah,
wrap up all my studio stuff and then do the booking, towards the end of that. So yeah, gonna fill in those dates and kind of get it out there and see what the response is really.
yeah. For people here, yeah, for sure.
Right.
So um, are you planning any more videos for the forthcoming EP as well? Some.
Yes.
Ooh,
I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I do know for sure that I do want to make. What I'd like to do is make one for every song that's on it. So there'll be 7 songs, and I'm hoping to get 7 videos out of it as well, and just kind of put that whole project together and get it out there too to see visually as well as you know hearing it.
yeah. It could run a bit like a visual representation of the music as well, and go with
Right.
the storytelling like mini films to support the music.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
interesting. It's
Hmm.
great stuff. So, you know, just turning back to film as well, we'll try and behave ish a little. So, how did you get involved with working on film sets, and what's the most interesting thing that you see doing that job on a day-to-day basis?
Uh, it's funny. Well, first of all, it just happened to be that in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, there was so much work that I happened to know somebody that said, we're down people, and I just kind of got in that way. And 17 years later, here I am. So,
Hmm.
but it's interesting. It's a cool career in a way that you never have the same day. There's always something different, something crazy. I worked on Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, and a whole part of that film is that they're on a plane, and we actually had a
Hmm.
737 fuselage in the warehouse that we had
Whoa.
brought in, and they had to knock a hole in the side of the building. They brought that in, and I was in charge of that set, so I had to get the whole inside of that thing ready to go, and so you never know really what the movie's going to call for, what do you have to do, but it's kind of a cool thing. Whereas they when they ask for something, I would say 99% of the time you don't say no. You just figure out how to do it, and
Yeah.
that's kind of been a cool thing to a life lesson really. I mean, it's been pretty awesome to have that kind of attitude about things sometimes, like not I can't do it, like it's going to be how am I going to do it, so which is cool, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I bet long hours as well.
Long
So
hours, a lot of work. Yeah.
yeah, so it's always challenging you, and then in the sense of always that need to adapt because the situation could change at any time,
Right, and it
especially for
does.
the various sets and scenes.
Exactly.
Um,
If it rains, if they have to
yeah,
have cover somewhere else, if something is going to work, and an actor is sick or whatever it is, they have to change
yeah.
everything up. Like you definitely on your toes for sure.
It sounds that although it's very arduous and long hours and very physical as well, it sounds very rewarding. And have you, who've been some of the, your favorite memories from actors that you have met whilst working on set?
Well, Bill Murray's awesome. I tell you
Oh man,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, he's so cool. He used to go out like after we were done with the day really. Sometimes he'd come out and get drinks and that kind of thing. So which is pretty cool. But he was also always nice to everyone. So I
yeah,
noticed that when we were at certain locations, he and the neighbors would be lined up in front of their yards to watch them shoot down the street. He actually walked over and shook hands and said hi to every single person in the line, and then hung out with them. And I heard him talking about golf and just really down to earth. And I like to see that when they're down to earth. And then there are other actors that I won't name that you're told you can't look them in the eye and this and that. And you're
mm.
like, give me a break. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, who do you think you are? So, but it's nice when somebody's normal and somebody's real and yeah, and actually Tom Cruise is really cool. I accidentally accidentally body checked him in that plane because I couldn't believe it. We were shooting, so we had to make all of the seats movable, so all the rows of seats in the airplane. So when they cut, the director wanted to have us move a bunch of seats so that they could do the camera move and whatnot. So I jumped in with my screw gun and I'm down and I'm trying to get out quick and I turn and at the same time he turns and we just smash into each other. I said, "Oh my God!" So
As an introduction.
yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be fired right now. I know. And but he was so cool. He was just like, all right, let's let these guys work and that was it. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, but every morning, he came up to everybody and was just like, good morning to everybody, and always nice, always on time, like super professional guy, and does all his own stunts. So it's cool when you're in like, when you are seeing these, actual movie stars, really, and
Yeah.
Michael Douglas, seeing him and whatnot. So it's yeah, it's always different, but it's cool when you see how some of the guys are and ladies are super nice and others,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I've heard that with Tom Cruise, that he's actually a really nice, genuine guy.
Yeah.
He's always come across like that in interviews I've seen with him, and he comes to the northeast where I'm from. He comes to our region a lot, and he's been featured in the local news where he was getting off the plane at at the airport, and he's shaking hands with all the staff that work there. This is even before he's gone inside the building,
Mm, that's
and
awesome.
had
Yeah.
time for people. And I remember the video he did. I think it was whilst he was filming the recent Mission Impossible movie. The one where he
Hmm.
jumped out the plane when he was
Yep.
skydiving. That was it. And he was giving thanks to all of the fans. I think it was for the success of Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I thought, when someone like that remembers essentially where they came from and is still very humble, and I'm like, yeah, it just shows that, hey, these people are regular people as well,
Right.
and it just means so much to you. And I mean, that must have been apart from the unintentional hilarious
Oh my God.
introduction,
I
which
couldn't believe it. It's like, come on. Yeah, but it worked out. It was all right.
yeah, I remember once. I worked in this bar as a glass collector as a teen, and I had a comedian on, and he was one of the I'll say kind of like the Bill Burr comedians, very colourful,
Yeah.
and I'm coming in collecting all the glasses, from people and the drinks, and I'm putting them in my little thing, and I'm walking past this guy, and I didn't realise, he had his microphone on him, and he must have started, as they do, must have started with the material and start, poking fun at us, etc. And I'm just in my own world. I'm like, no, I've got to get all these glasses back to the bar, and the next,
Yeah.
and I'm walking past this guy, and I didn't hear what he said, and apparently he put the microphone was leaving. All you heard was me say, "I don't know, mate. I'm just getting this glass. That's all." Everybody started laughing, and this guy was left a bit dumbfounded. So I still don't know to this day what he said, but I guess I didn't give him the answer he was expecting. Just
Awesome.
but things like that. I mean, it's that in itself, though, from what you've said, is such an interesting story, and working with these people, some close hand, and then actually working on those sets, and the same with music, bringing that art to life, seeing how it's constructed. I mean, that's just such an awesome thing in my opinion. And then being interested in film, I just think that's absolutely wonderful. So
Cool. Thank you.
that leads me to another nerdy question.
I'm ready.
Or what would be some of your most favorite sets that you've put together?
Well, that set definitely on Night and Day was that whole plane thing was really cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I just finished Good Burger 2, which is coming out on Paramount, which is that was a crazy set, but crazy because it was so kind of ridiculous. So you'll if when that comes out, I can't really say too much about it.
Yeah,
It's not out, but that one's ridiculous. But Moonrise Kingdom, I don't know if you ever saw that film, Wes Anderson film, but
Oh no, I'll have to look that up.
yeah, the working for Wes Anderson was kind of pretty. It's just so intricate. Every frame is just like a setup picture basically, and everything has to be, the exact measurements apart or whatever. So it was really interesting, and I actually really enjoyed working on that. That was one of the ones that that's probably the proudest of, because we had a very small crew, and we did so many of the sets, so quickly, and they came out really nice. But they're just very intricate, and it's just pretty. That was pretty cool. I don't know if I think you said you didn't see it, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up though. No, yeah, curious.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch that they're okay.
Yeah, I'll just say that's the okay ones.
It's like, oh, another drug house. I got to do okay.
Yeah.
Another hospital. Oh, great.
Maybe change just a little bit here and there. Yeah.
There's always an office. There's always a police station, and there's always a hospital. Always.
What's that road? Oh, you'll know when I describe this. I think it's in LA, and it's always in all the movies. It's very famous. It's like got the bridge, and it looks like it's set at the back. Oh God, it was famous for in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, where they're riding on the bikes, and it's always in all the action movies. It's always that same stretch of road and that bridge. I think it's in LA somewhere. Yeah, I've seen it in so many movies, and it's usually always the same, some bikes or cars.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
do you think to close it down or something?
It must be, because sometimes I think, do you think anyone's ever thought, well, perhaps maybe change the location? Or is this an alternative universe where there's all these unofficial sequels or something?
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
But so I'm just wondering your opinion here, being in film. Do you think then that we are now, oh man, this is going to be a loaded question. Do you think Hollywood's a little creative bankrupt, in terms of rebooting everything, constant remakes? Sometimes it seems to be like almost scraping at the barrel. We'll make a series of this, or we'll do a sequel to this. And I do feel sometimes, I know even movies can have that feel, but there's too much reliance on effects and the story. I appreciate if you can't say too much on this, because I know.
No. I mean, my personal opinion is there's way more quantity versus quality for sure. And every time I hear that they're going to redo something that was already great in the 80s or something, it just blows my mind. It's why I don't understand. But it seems to be that there isn't a whole heck of a lot of original ideas out there, which is kind of a bummer. And it's almost like it is definitely just to try to make money on something just because, and we definitely see that a lot. But I mean, I kind of agree with what you said. So yeah.
Would there be, I don't know if is there a kind of set that you may not have worked on yet or designed that you would like to do in the future?
I've never done like a space movie. I want to do like a space thing, like a Star Trek thing or something like that. That would be awesome. Yeah. Never done that. But,
something different.
Yeah, I think that'd be so cool.
What about then, I'll put this spin on it for you, like horror sci-fi and mixing in the horror with space, you imagine like you got an abandoned space station or something in the fog. I don't know how fog would get there. I know. Leak oxygen. Whatever,
Space bar.
folks. I know I'm wrong. Yeah,
Space
yeah.
bar.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, yeah. Thank
Of
you.
course it's there. Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds cool. You need to write it. You
yeah,
write it,
yeah,
and we'll put it together. We'll build it.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, that'd be awesome. I think that's what's great as well with some of that sci-fi horror because of the isolation in space, as they say, classic aliens. You know, no one can hear you scream,
Right.
which just works about it. Because yeah, hey, we're literally in the middle of space. It's not like
Right.
hey, yep, we're here.
Yeah.
So let's have another film nerd and random for you as well. So, what have the difference? What would you say the difference is in working? I don't know how much work you do in independent film alongside, you know, major film, but if so, what's the difference you see between those two aspects?
I don't really work on a lot of independent stuff because
Right.
I am in the union, so I do actually work on bigger stuff usually. But there
Yeah.
are tiers, so there is like the low budget tier within that aspect. So to be honest with you, the difference is you do maybe more work for the smaller stuff without,
Right.
you know, it's equally as, you know, busy and stressful all the way from the little stuff to the top. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, of course, the bigger stuff has more money
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah.
do the crazier
Yeah.
things, which is cool. So.
And what would be, and what's your most how would you keep yourself in shape for working on these sets? You know, because
I
it's obviously
just
challenging.
show up at work. That's
I
it.
didn't expect that.
Yeah, that's it. Because if you're gonna be at work, you're gonna be lifting furniture and moving boxes, and that's it.
So that's the workout in itself. So
That's
you're
the
already come
workout
out
in
jacked
itself.
from the sets and ripped.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I was expecting then. Oh well, I go running on the morning before this, and I hit the gym and after.
I don't have time for any of that.
Yeah, I bet it's refreshing. But so the music though, literally as you said, is that nice break from it, and there's that compliment.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. That,
and when I'm done with a project,
yeah.
because usually it's like a chunk of
Yeah.
time, you know. So for a movie might be like 3 months or something.
Yeah.
So when I'm done with that, that's when I can actually really just focus and record and do what I got to do, and then go back to, you know, the next project. So it's kind of like a leapfrog thing.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah, constantly busy, but
Yeah.
It's better to have that problem than, you know, be sat around doing nothing, especially when you're very naturally creative. I think there's nothing worse if you've got all of those ideas. Yeah, it's like a prison in your mind, and it's like I want to get these out there. And apologies, folks. I think we just heard some people outside. I don't know if anybody heard that, having a disagreement. So we had someone
Was that what was happening?
Yeah. I just heard it there. That's why I was trying to talk louder, because I've got both windows open and I could hear like somebody outside, and then a door being slammed from the apartment. I was like, of all the times for this to happen, it's like
maybe they might have been yelling at you for giving away the end of those movies.
Probably so. It's done it again, and that is. Do you know, man, that's one of my bad habits, I must admit, and I can't help it. I remember he's due to come on the show at some point, very busy guy. He's in a band, a friend of mine, he's in a band called RuneScad, and he works in film as well. And he sent me one of his short films to review, and I got so excited, and I realized, I thought, I blurred everything out, and I was like, oh god. It was us on a review, but luckily Course at the time managed to save it, and we got it back there, and we essentially then put it as, this is a deep dive, spoiler alert. But yeah, that is the perils of having an overactive and hyper visual imagination as well. I'm terrible that sometimes have to blurt it out, and yeah, it can be problematic. Yeah, that's the excuse I'm going with.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no badness intended in it, and so belated apologies to anyone's career I may have ruined. Probably, I had all this plot wrote and you gave it away, you limey. Oh man. So a couple of general off-topic questions again as well. Do you support Boston Celtics?
You know, I To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I'm not going to even say yes or no because I'm a football fan. So that's American
Hey,
football fan. So that
New
is
England Patriots,
I am a Patriots fan. I know everybody. I know there's a lot of
Patriots.
non-fans, but
Yeah,
I'm from here.
yeah.
It's my team.
Yeah, my buddy was originally from Everett, and then he moved to the West Coast to San Diego, and he supports the Patriots, and we've had this banter going back and forth for a long time. Going back to when Brady was there and everything, man. And he's
Nice.
Boston Bruins as well, whereas I'm Washington Caps. So, sports fan in general, I don't think I've probably got a team for absolutely everything around the
that's
world
awesome.
in some kind of league.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
finding the
awesome.
time to watch it all, though.
Right.
It's the only difficult thing.
That's why I'm only basically a football guy, really. I mean, first of all, it's my favorite sport, but secondly, like
Yeah,
I don't have the time to just I don't do well to just sit down and like watch. I couldn't watch like a baseball game. I just can't.
yeah,
I always my brain's just going. I need to be doing a million other things, and I'm sure it's great. I wish I had the patience to do that. I just don't.
yeah.
So,
The problem I can relate on baseball. The problem I have with it's really fun to play. It's great. Got this
Mhm.
huge bat, but to watch I often find it. And I know it's not slow. Certainly the pitches, the
Right. No,
speed
of
of the
course.
ball, but I just find it a little slow to watch and boring. But
Right.
playing it, I love it.
Right. Right.
But then, as you said, compared to football, I know someone could argue now, well, all the commercial breaks and the Super
There's a
Bowl
lot
are
of
going to
commercial
ruin
breaks.
slow. Yeah,
Yes.
that it's got, but when it's played right, you've got the speed. It is fast and it's entertaining.
Right.
Um,
A lot of
but
energy.
yeah,
Hmm.
it is. But sadly, I have a bit of that problem now where, I watch a lot of combat sports, mainly pro wrestling and MMA.
Hmm.
And now I'm finding it difficult to watch soccer, basketball, football,
Right, because you're up
anything
here
else.
now, and you got to
Yeah,
go down here.
yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
I'm watching those all the time. Um, but I'm curious to see how football, the NFL, develops further over here in Europe because I think you
Right.
have Jacksonville Jaguars play over here a lot.
Hmm.
They're rumored to be possibly doing some NFL games in Germany. I
Right.
know there was
I think that's this season. Yeah,
yeah,
they're going to be doing some game in Germany. Yeah.
but and I, some people get a bit negative when sports, I guess, spread to countries that will say aren't traditional for that sport. But I'm always, no, come on, man. If we want the sport to grow as fans, the more countries that can play this sport and it's there, the better. It's only better for the game. There
Right.
used to be
Exactly.
that NFL Europe, and there's always the rumors they would possibly start that again. I'm like, come on, man. You think you could have a future World Series or a
Right.
spin off from that where you've got, say, the team from Asia or something versus a team from North America, Europe, or the UK or something. I mean, come on, man, that's exciting as a fan.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
the same with music. If we can, this genre can spread to as many places as possible. Again, why limit it? Keep it
Right.
open.
Exactly.
Uh,
And I think
um,
it's easier to do that too with music these
mm,
days. I mean, at least with even with what we're doing, I mean, it's at least easier to just via the internet or streaming or whatever. At least it could be heard all over the place, which is great.
yeah, and I've noticed some of those videos you've done as well, Brian, where you've done like playthroughs and um, for your other singles as well.
Hmm.
So that's getting you out there, and I mean, yeah, I could imagine, say, I don't know, for heaven forbid, I hope not, but if we were ever in a situation like COVID, I think when a lot of bands were playing from studios or their own apartments, doing that
Right.
cross streaming, etc. And I think this is another way now that we can, hey, if we can't afford, say, to go on tour or we can only do one show, catch us live from our YouTube channel, or I know you're fed up, I'm going to be live and I'll play a song talking to Gaz while he ruins movies or something like that. Um, so no, that's the positive that's come out of it for sure.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so have you got any merchandise to support the new single, Technicolor Moments? Perhaps a shirt with that design on.
I will have it. Yes, it's in the process right now. I don't have it right yet, but it'll be in my store, which would be brianmckenzie.com. So I'm gonna have all sorts of different things, but including that shirt. But I have actually another shirt idea too. So But yeah, I think by probably another month I'll have it fully stocked. So
It,
I'll send you one.
yeah, man, for sure. Thank you. Here's a random one for you as well. So we both talked about our love for Hammer horror. Um, would you possibly down the line somewhere do a project where it was kind of like I don't know how to describe this music, so I'm going to do my best. I'll probably butcher it, but kind of like that horror acoustic music you get. I think is it not quite psychobilly? No, no,
Oh, okay. No, I didn't
no.
know what you maybe like
No, it's
horror acoustic music.
yeah, it's like I've heard it. It's kind of like this. I think they
I
call
know
it
what you're
like
saying.
psychobilly kind of thing, and it's got
Yeah.
like a very spooky vibe. So, would you ever be interested in perhaps doing a little EP or a song like that, maybe just for the fun or showing that love
Maybe.
for Hammer?
You know what I always wanted to do is actually more of like the horror surf rock stuff.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I love surf rock too. So
yeah,
like there's a few bands that came out in the '90s that were like the ghastly ones, and they kind of all dress like undertakers and have their their
oh,
hats on,
nice,
and one
yeah,
called the Bomboras, and Rob Zombie actually had this label for a while called Zombie A Go Go Records, and he had
yeah,
these guys on there, and but it had like just the whole horror vibe, combined with the surf rock, and
yeah,
kind of had that like Munsters kind of a vibe to
yeah,
it, and it was all kind of with like garage rock kind of all
yeah.
intertwined, and I like that stuff. So yeah, I would love to do that sometime, a little side project thing.
Yeah. Oh no. Keep me
Yeah,
informed of that. Sounds great.
yeah,
It's got
yeah,
that real fun energy to it as well.
exactly,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah, I
Again,
love
very
it.
cinema. Excuse me. I
Sure.
think that's a ghost coming to attack me for again spoiling more endings to movies and stuff. I'll be
That was
that
that
one.
mosquito again.
Yeah, it was. Sparring with me before I go live. Yeah, and the main mosquito. Um, so if there's any folks out there that want to pop any questions, I know we had somebody here earlier who liked to describe their eating habits, which is quite amusing. Raw potatoes taste like libraries. Hey, each to their own. No. Okay, so is there anything that we may have missed about your music? That no, I tell you before that.
Yeah.
Martial arts. So I've got to get this in. Just
All
remembered.
right.
So
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Yen, I know I think he went to college in Boston.
Oh, did
Uh,
he? I didn't even know
I
that.
think so. I'm not 100% on that. That was my shout out to VX, my co-host, and he runs his own channel looking at true crime, Planet X films. I think he was the one who told me that he
Oh, that's awesome.
possibly, I think he went to college in Boston. So, which would be some of your favorite martial art movies from both past and present, and some of your favorite martial arts actors as well?
I mean, I love the Jet Li Once Upon a Time in China,
Yeah.
that whole
Wong
series.
Fei Hung.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I love that series.
Mm.
Even the one when they're in the in like the Old West. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw that one. That
Yeah.
was actually
Yeah.
really
Seen
cool
them all.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love the old Bruce Lee stuff, of course. I mean, that was the stuff I grew up on, and that was my
Yeah.
favorite. But I think my favorite though would have to be I love Drunken Master, and I love the second Drunken Master, which actually came out here as The Legend of Drunken Master, but I guess it's actually Drunken Master 2 originally, in China. But I just that movie is out of control. You talk about like that whole like real fight you see at the end of the horror
Yeah.
Dracula, but the fight scene at the end of that movie is so insane. When Jackie Chan
Yeah.
is just he's on fire and he's fighting this guy. It's just it's just one of the best fighting scenes I've seen ever in a movie. And that one is just tops for me for sure. What
Yeah.
about you?
Oh, I've got a few actually. This is a movie I talk about a lot. It's from 2007. It's Donnie Yen. It's called Flashpoint, and it's during a time of the handover to Hong Kong to China. When it moves out of British hands. Seriously, Brian, if you've not seen that movie, the
Really?
action scenes and fight scenes are so intense, very brutal. And it's one of these movies where it really showcases a range of styles, heavy influence of MMA. And, like at the end of Jackie Chan movies where they always show you the stunts, how they
Yeah.
did them in the end credits. I've always loved
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Well, in this one, they do the same, and it shows how they were training for each scene, how they were putting things together. It's got quite a nice score as well. And I'll just say this, after the kind of build up, in the first act for kind of first 20, 30 minutes, after that passes, it's pretty much relentless from the second act to the end.
Nice.
Highly recommend it. Other ones, a lot of the Jet Li movies, as you said. I like a lot of Scott Adkin movies, Ninja 2, Ninja Assassin. I enjoyed that one.
I have to see all of these.
Some of them, Ninja Assassin brought in a bit of a fantasy element with ninjas actually coming out of the shadows and the dark. And it's fairly low budget, I guess. It's set in Germany, I think, in one particular part of it. But it's a good movie. I like a lot of the Zaitochi, the 13 Assassins, Blade of the Immortal, all the Japanese samurai movies.
Yes.
I'm absolutely fanatical on them, both from past and present, back to the old school ones and the times of vintage Hammer to present day. Some of those movies are fantastic. And then I'm probably going to butcher his name, so apologies. Is it Iko, the guy who's in the Raid movies? And he's done a lot in Hollywood since. Ooh, some of his movies are definitely worth checking. Very brutal, but it's that intensity with the action scenes. Was I talking? Yeah. Oh, this is why I was trying so hard to behave earlier, because of the conversations we've already had.
Right.
I thought if I get on movies and certainly martial arts, that'll be it. People are like, I tuned in to listen to about his music. This guy's just learning. I'm terrible, man, and it's happened with many guests. If we get nerding about film, wrestling, sports, everything we've been talking about.
That's your show. It's all right. You can do that.
Still want to get yourself out there, though. That's a point. I
think we did that. I think it's all right.
Yeah, not just, hey guys, I'm coming on to talk about my single for 5 minutes. But yeah, and I think like what we were saying about Hammer Horror, and the reason I particularly noticed with some of the Eastern cinema is, man, do they put their all into those fight scenes and those action scenes, even with the cars, the action movies outside of martial arts. And I think, wow, the way they do it, it's so intense.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you know what I mean with you saw Drunken Master 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so if you go back and watch that fight, I mean, everything they do is intense. It's amazing. They're such entertaining movies. It's awesome.
This and it's what was the other one? Nowhere Man. That's like I'm sure did Hollywood do a remake of Nowhere Man? Possibly.
Really familiar.
Part of the Old Boy trilogy, I think. Kind of, and I think they did remake Old Boy. I'm sure they did. I know they remade one or two of them from that trilogy, and there was a very well-known actor in one of them. I remember, one of the films is this guy, and I'm sure it's part of that trilogy where he's being kind of kept prisoner in an apartment for 10 years, and he finally breaks out and gets into the outside world, and I think then the film is him trying to find his daughter, possibly, and I'm sure it's part of that trilogy. But, all those kind of movies. But ones in particular, I'm a very long-winded way of answering your question, but would be Zaitochi, 13 Assassins, Donnie Yen's Flashpoint. He did the Legend. Is it the Legend of Chen Chen? Possibly. I think it was a remake of Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, which is one of the absolute all-time classics.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Especially, and then Wave the Dragon for the fight Bruce Lee had with Chuck Norris as well. That is an absolute cinema. That's cinema gold. It really is. So yeah, very similar, and some of the movies I've mentioned as well.
Nice.
Absolutely, superb. I'm going to behave myself. I'll just start reeling more and more off. Is there anything that we haven't covered that we may have forgotten with our off-topic moments that you would like to shout out for us?
I don't think so. I mean, I think this has been a lot of fun, and I think kind of hit everything really. I mean, it'd be cool if people want to take a listen to the new stuff and
Yeah, definitely
take
do.
a look at the video. And my website's brianmckenzie.com, and just it's everything's streaming. Music wise as well. To check it out on Spotify, whatever. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, I showed you my books.
Well, just before I'm gonna have to do the same if I can find it. Where is it before I let you go? I'm still trying to get around to reading these. Um, please don't everything collapse. Oh, I may have cleaning to do after the show now. These I only found these set of magazines recently, and apparently they're like some of the. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah,
Uh, I found
that's
these
awesome.
recently. Please, YouTube, don't kill me. I'm just showing the love for appreciation for horror.
Right.
So I'm not ripping off anybody's art. But as you can see here, like features a lot of classic,
Oh, that's awesome.
horror articles in there. And I
Are those
literally,
new, or those like those you've had them for a while?
these are a few months old that are
Okay.
still, again, as like, oops, Boris Karloff there.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I have a bunch of like fantastic Monsters of Filmland magazine from the 90s. But
Yeah,
that's
there are.
awesome.
Oh, thanks, Brian. They're a few months old, and I literally saw them in the supermarket one day, and I started
Oh, cool.
browsing through them, and it said, I'd heard of Fangoria,
Yep.
everyone know Fangoria, and it said Dark Side, and it's in the front like the world's best-selling print horror magazine. So I started browsing through it, and it had everything from Hammer, independent film, current horror, and it was showing you the history and set design, interviews with actors, how they got the ideas together, and I thought, man, this is like, it's kind of like reading a history book, but on filmmaking, but particularly from classic to current horror. And I
Right.
thought, man, this is fascinating. So I got a couple of issues which I've still yet to read. I think I'm a few months behind now, but I thought, man, yeah, this stuff's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
They even have Sherlock Holmes in there as well, which,
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
that's another love of mine as well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Hound of the Baskervilles,
Yep.
Scarlet, was it the Scarlet Spider or something? Oh man, so many.
Study in Scarlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's man, yeah. So yeah, it's recommended. It's really interesting stuff, and it's got quite a lot of good dry sarcastic humor. Or there's one article in one of those where there's a guy who grew up, I think, both in the US and London, and he's talking about classic cinema back in the day. And it seems to be that this guy maybe didn't have a fond appreciation for what we're led to believe was a magical time with music and film in the 60s. This guy starts saying, I'll put this as polite as I can. The 60s wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And actually, it was a load of, I was there, it sucked. I really thought, I just thought, I've never come across that before, because usually we all, hear about Woodstock and everything and all the rest of it. And here's this guy who's like really bitter. And that was it. He was chatting about, the old school Godzilla movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he said at the time he wasn't old enough to have gained access into the theater to see Godzilla. And then it was like all these decades later, he got this Godzilla movie on Blu-ray, got his wife and family around, and then he's writing about the experience. It's in one of them I showed you. He gets to the end of this article and he says, I had it all set up on Blu-ray, all watching it. He said, and finally, after all these decades, it was a load of. I just thought, wow, I thought, that must be
awesome.
I thought again,
wrong.
Yeah. And this gives me the perfect excuse and the perfect segue to do a closing plug here, like Technicolor Moments. Looking at things through rose-tinted glasses.
Exactly. Yes.
Isn't it? This was great when I was a kid. Blah blah blah. Now it's
right.
So
yep. Now move on. Go see something else.
So, folks, if you enjoy Technicolor Moments, which I hope you do, I'm just realizing I might not be promoting this in the best way, actually. So, look, simply put, folks, support independent music. There's a vision there. There's creativity. If you like really deep, meaningful, reflective lyrics that we can all relate to, some really nice, beautiful played music, then definitely check out Brian's work. Honestly, man, it's been such a pleasure having you on here talking
I've
to
loved
me.
this was great. Thank
It's
you.
so much fun, man. I would love to talk to you again. And apologies
let's
for
do
my
it.
off-topic nerding.
Not at all. Not at all. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. But if you know, I can help you in any way, just get at me, and would definitely love to do something with you for the new EP as well. I think
Oh, that'd be great. Thank
I'm
you.
interested to hear about that, and
Awesome.
and best of luck with your film work as well on the sets.
Thank
I
you.
hope you have some more encounters with people as well.
Less abrasive encounters.
Yeah. That's awesome hearing. He was really cool.
Yes, definitely.
That is. So, folks, all the links to Brian's music will be in the description. Please be patient because YouTube can take some time processing. So if it doesn't appear today, it will be there tomorrow. Again, thanks for coming on. I'm about to do my uncomfortable pause when I hit stop streaming, where I'm going to be like this.
Okay.
So in true Hammer horror style, Dracula's just walked in.
Yes.
So, folks, take care. I'll see you in the next episode of Fed Up. Once again, absolute massive shout out to you, Brian, and thank you for putting up with all my silliness. You're very welcome.
This was awesome.
Thanks, man. Okay, folks, we'll see you in the next episode, and take care.